Hi, everybody. As people trickle in on a Sunday, we will wait for another minute and then we'll begin. Like any other performance art, so it'd be lovely if you can put your videos on so that you and the artist and all of us can have a collective experience. The beauty of sitting together and watching an experience, because this is going to be a lovely showcase. So it's going to be as close as being with the artist. If we can put your videos on, just make sure your background, your side ground, your front ground, all of that is in place, and slowly you can put your videos on. And if you have your family members, please do call them, and you can experience this with your family, because this is the showcase is an experience with the family, but make sure an adult is there, because it will be addressed to the adults, and it's definitely child friendly watching along with the family, so that you can also ask questions and look deeper into it. Lovely. Hi, everybody. Welcome to the 7th edition of the Bengaluru Storytelling Festival that's brought together by the Bangalore Storytelling Society. Bangalore Storytelling Society began in 2013 as a collective to celebrate stories by people who share and perform and collect tales on a day-to-day basis and celebrate them in different forms. And once we started, we also wanted to slowly begin a space where we celebrate this once in a year in a festival. As much as we celebrate every day, a festival is always a time of collective energy, and that's how the BeSt Festival was brought together so that we experience it as an energy gathering. And with that, we began celebrating stories from different spaces, from different parts of the soil, urban villages, and little spaces that celebrate art of stories in different ways. And a segment of every year, the BeSt Festival has been in bringing in art form which is rooted in the soil of Karnataka. And as part of that, we've had different art forms like puppetry from the Janapada Loka. We've had the Halaki women coming and performing for us who are based near Gokarna and by the Buddha folklore. And then we had Shilpa Murbi of the Bangalore urban folklore project. And as a celebration of that, we continue this year. We did plan for this to be happening in a real space in Bangalore. And that's as we began, somebody else entered our life for the third time. And so we had to make digital. But what we're going to do is once we open up, we're going to have this again in a real space to experience it in a completely different dimension. And I have the privilege and honor of introducing a co-artist and performer, Priyanka. Priyanka started learning Yakshagana at a very young age of 8 years under her guru K. Mohan and Guru K. Krishnamurti Tunga, who are famous and renowned artists of this form of folk art. The inspiration to learn and excel this art form came to her from her father, Shri K. Mohan, who himself is an Yakshagana artist and who, out of sheer love towards this art, is popularizing it for the last 40 years. Priyanka has performed in more than 500 shows in various parts of the country, and she has won several awards and accolades for her contribution to the field of Yakshagana. She has the credit of being the first female teacher in a male-dominant art form, Yakshagana. She has been teaching for the last 12 years, and her initiative, Twarita, was part of the pre-incubation program of IIM Bangalore, NSRCEL, and she is also part of the prestigious JP Birla Fellowship for Women Leaders. You can unmute and give a warm round of applause and welcome Priyanka Mohan, K. Mohan.
Thank you so much.
In Bangalore, Karnataka, and India, and the world.
Ellarigu namaskara. I think we'll begin traditionally. So the music that you just heard is called Abra. And that's the way traditionally we welcome people to the field. When we talk more, you will understand. And after this is the first performance that happens is by the Kodangi, usually done by very young children. And this is a platform for them to kind of let go of stage fear. So there is no structured dance to this particular music. Of course, now we have kind of choreographed and made it more presentable. But in actual practice, children are led to perform for the beats of this particular music so that as they grow and become artists, they get very familiar with the stage. So now I'll present to you Kodangi Nritya.
Ramabhadra Govinda Godinda Dinna Ramabhadra Govinda Hare Rama Govinda Hare Rama Govinda Achyutananda Govinda Hare Rama Raghava मुखतो पूर्णचन्द्रश्री नेत्र पद्मदलाकृति नेत्र पद्मदलाकृति कोटि सूर्य प्रकाशेन कोटि सूर्य प्रकाशेन सभा सर्वाभिवन्दनो सभा सर्वाभिवन्दनो
ನೆರೆದಿರುವ ಸಭಾಸಭಿಕರಿಗೆ
ಓದಿನತ್ತಾಗಡುತ್ತ ರಾಮ ರಾಘವ ಗೋವಿಂದ ಹರೇ ರಾಮ ಗೋವಿಂದ ಹರೇ ರಾಮ ಗೋವಿಂದ ಅಚ್ಯುತಾನಂದ ಗೋವಿಂದ ಹರೇ ರಾಮ ರಾಘವ ಗೋವಿಂದ ಅಚ್ಯುತಾನಂದ ಗೋವಿಂದ ಹರೇ ರಾಮ ಜಯ ರಾಮ ರಘುರಾಮ ರಾಘವ ಗೋವಿಂದ ತೋದಿನ ತಗದಿನ ತೋಂಗ ತೋದಿನಂಗ ದಿಂದ ತೈ ತಾಗಡ್ಗ ದರಗಡ ಗಡ್ಗ ತಾತೈ ದಾದೆ ತಾದ ತೋಂಗ ತಾತೈ ಅದದಿ ಗಿಣದೇ
So this is how traditionally two or multiple young children welcome the audience. And after this, the Prasanga Purvaranga continues. Before that, I would like you to come with me, along with me through the journey of Yakshagana, how this particular art form originated. What is the state of the art form today and the future?
Priyanka, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll just share my screen. So I hope all of you can view my screen. So Yakshagana is very typical to coastal Karnataka, and it's believed to have originated in coastal Karnataka. It was very predominant. Up till last 50, 60 years, we've seen some movement of the art form towards the other parts of Karnataka. And Yakshagana, though various books state different dates, on an average, it has a history of around 600 to 700 years. And it's a folk theater form. And again, folk is a very debatable term in today's time, because a lot of them do classify Yakshagana as a classical art form. And there are still a lot of elements that are folk in nature to the art form. And hence, keeping it neutral, we call it traditional theater art form. So there are, again, various kinds of Yakshagana. One is Tenkutittu and the other is Badagutittu. Tenku, a Kannada word, means the south. So the southern part of the coastal Karnataka practices Tenkutittu up till Kasargod, like a part of Karnataka, and after that Kerala Kasargod, parts of Kerala, they practice Tenkutittu, and northern part of the coastal Karnataka practices Badagutittu. And today, the piece that I performed in front of you is part of the Badagutittu. My origin is from Udupi, and a lot of people in this particular region practice the Badagutittu. And I put up some images for you to visually differentiate the art form. Very clearly, the colors are very predominant in each of these. So very quickly, somebody who's looking at the costume can easily tell whether it's Tenkutittu or a Badagutittu. If you see in the Tenkutittu, colors of black and purple red are very highlighted. Whereas on the other hand, in the Badagutittu, it's more of orange and red. There are a lot of nuances. The basic construct of the art form remains the same, traditional art form and the flow of the prasangas. But there are some of these minute changes which are very different in Tenkutittu and Badagutittu. And probably as I go through it, I will point out some of the differences in the two art forms. There's also another classification called the Bada Badagu. Northern part of the northern coastal Karnataka. It's very similar, look-wise, it's very similar to Badagutittu, but certain styles within the flow of some of the prasangas, which is the play, differs in Badagutittu. Otherwise, visually, they're very similar to Badagutittu. Badagu, again, in Kannada means north. So this is the southern coastal Karnataka form, and this is the northern Karnataka form. Yakshagana is also known as Bayalata. Bayalu means open field. It was and still in some parts is performed in open air. And the lighting, like as in today, we didn't have a lot of lighting system earlier. So a simple fire lit platform was the stage that was erected in the middle of the field, which can house close to 1,000 or 2,000 people. Again, Yakshagana was the only form of or only source of entertainment for people. Yakshagana usually begins at around 6 in the evening as it darkens. And again, like I said, initially first half an hour to 1 hour is just the percussionist playing the music, giving the cue to the villagers that the prasanga is starting and we can all start gathering. And the play goes on the whole night up till the morning. And the structure and the way it is done, I will talk about it later. And if you see, Yakshagana is known for its visual costumes. And I think one of the reasons why visually it is very appealing is because it's done in the night. And, one of the ways to keep people engaged and alert is through your visual appearance. And hence a lot of importance on the aharya, that's the costume, has been given in Yakshagana. So like we know, every theatre form, there is a conductor of the play. And in Yakshagana, the Bhagavata is considered as the conductor of the play. So he is the chief person and he is the utmost respected person. Bhagavata is a singer who is usually sitting behind the artists who are performing in the front. He is in control of the entire play up till the morning. There were times that the Bhagavata used to sit for singing at 6 in the evening and get up only 6 in the morning the next day. Till then, he used to really run the show. That's why he is given the utmost importance. He is the one who will know the flow of the play. What is the play? What is the character? How much of the character should perform for what kind? And you can also ask me more questions on this. As I go towards the prasanga, I will talk a little bit about how and what each character kind of goes through before performing the play. And I have put pictures of 2 Bhagavatas here. One on the top is the Tenkutittu Bhagavata. If you see, they have a symbol where it's a flat, this thing, and they use a stick to kind of put the tala, the rhythms. Down is the Badagutittu Bhagavata, where you use normal symbols for the using the tala for the conducting the play. And they are, most of the artists kind of go to the stage only after taking the blessings of the Bhagavata, and he is usually the most senior person having the utmost knowledge of the art form. Himmela. Himmela is again somebody who is sitting behind. So again, I have given two pictures to differentiate how a Tenkutittu Himmela looks like and a Badagutittu Himmela looks like. So there's a Bhagavata and there's a Maddale artist. Maddale is very similar to Mridanga, not as big as Mridanga. It's a smaller version. And a Chande. Chande is another form of the drum, which is very loud and usually attracts and gives that unique sound to Yakshagana. Now, that's the order in which they sit is different in Badagutittu and Tenkutittu. The topmost is the Badagutittu, where Bhagavatar is the first person who will sit, followed by the Mridanga or the Maddale artist, and then the Chande artist. And if you observe, the Chande artist in Badagutittu is sitting down. Whereas now if you come down to the second image here, the Tenkutittu, the Chande player is standing and they will stand the whole night or till whatever time the performance is. So, and the order is also very different. Chande is the first main person who will stand in Tenkutittu, followed by the Bhagavata and the Maddale artist. Like I depicted, there's a picture of Chande here and also the Tala that is used in Badagutittu. I'll pause here if there are any questions or anything that you want to know more about this, you can kind of ask me now. If not, we will continue.
I just had one question. The two forms
Yes.
that you mentioned, is it just the costumes or even the way in which the story is presented? Is there a difference?
So the story presentation, the structure of a play would still remain the same. For example, if it's a Krishna Arjuna Kalaga, the characters that will come in, the padyas will also remain the same, but there is a difference in talas. So I will talk a little bit more about why this art form is very close to classical art form. So the talas, the way the talas are conducted are slightly different in the Tenkutittu and Badagutittu. And also in Tenkutittu, the vakya, the dialogues are given more importance, whereas in Badagutittu, the natya, the nritya is given more importance. So when we kind of get into a play and when you start observing, usually there's a song followed by which the characters will talk through in form of dialogue. They will explain what the song meant or the lyrics of the song. So in Tenkutittu, the dancing part will be very minimal as much as it is required. Whereas in Badagutittu, each character will explore it in his own way and will give a very different dimension, each character. And that is one of the reasons why even if you go today, each person would have watched the same play. It would be still Krishna Arjuna Kalaga, for example. They would have watched it 50 times and still they wouldn't get bored. And that's why I said the folk element is still there, because there is this freedom or the liberty for each artist to bring in his or her own perspective to the particular character that they are playing. And hence, for example, my grandmother has watched the same play probably more than 200 times. And every time after we come back, like probably after we go watch a movie, we sit down and discuss about what the movie is. So similar discussions happen in our place about the Yakshagana play, what each character said and what happened and stuff like that. So each time the discussions are very different. And we'll be like, Arate Manjoru hig madidru. For example, there's this particular artist 50 years ago, he was doing it in this way, and today they have changed it and it's like this. So, and hence I feel that the folk element is still there. There is the freedom for each artist to represent his own thing. Any other question?
The question by Deepa on improvisation, is it common or allowed in both forms?
Yes, both forms. And I think that is what it, just a second. That is what Yakshagana brings in, improvisation. Within a structure, there is a scope for you to improvise and That's common in both forms. But what differentiates again is in Tenkutittu, improvisation is a lot with the dialogues, and in Badagutittu, there is dialogue importance, but more toward the dance. Okay, so I'll probably move on, and I will also keep the questions towards the end as well.
Priyanka, just a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to know why this name was given, Yakshagana. So what, how?
Thank you. So I think Yakshagana has had many different names. Like Yakshagana is not the only name that the art form has. It was first called Dashavatara because it started, one of the beliefs, there are multiple beliefs as to how this art form originated. Some people say it originated in Andhra, Yakshagana, and offshoots of it came to Karnataka and then Kerala. You'll find similar art forms in each of these states in South India. And they say that during the Vijayanagara Samrajya, they were giving a lot of importance for art and culture, and that's when Yakshagana really found its place. So that's one of the things. Another belief is the Vaishnava movement, and that's why probably I feel the Dashavatara name also came because it's mostly Krishna, Vishnu's avatara, right? And a lot of plays were to kind of propagate and tell people about stories of Vishnu and his different avatars, and hence Dashavatara. And I think as you know, the stories we started taking from Mahabharata, different Puranas, and various other places as we diversified. It was also called Bayalata for a very long time, or just Ata. Even today, if you go to coastal Karnataka, you will hear people saying, let's go watch the Ata. Yakshagana is not used as a term there. It's mostly Ata. Ata means play. So Bayalata, again, I said it's open field. Yakshagana is, again, the name Yakshagana. Gana is the song. I think there's again very little of research and documentation done on all of these things. So a lot of this is just as we see and as we hear from different artists. A lot of importance is given to the voice. And, you know, like I said, a Bhagavata would sit down at 6 p.m. in the evening and go on till 6 a.m. in the morning. And there was no mic like today. And his voice would be heard probably up to easily 2, 3, 4 kilometers. That's the voice. And a lot of them compare Yakshagana's music to opera, the way, you know, the operas, this thing. So that's the pitch, and that's the importance of Gana and celestial beings. That's the really, that's what you would feel with all the costumes and aharya and the stories that we take and the song. It's also believed that earlier, there was no concept of himmela and mummela. It was the character himself used to sing and dance. And that's why a celestial being singing and performing Yakshagana. So that's one of the theories. Again, there are each book will give you a different perspective, and I've tried to give you 2 or 3 of them that I have read.
Priyanka, I think but somebody by mistake is using the mobile, the lines are coming. Can you just open it again? Then this won't happen.
Okay, I'll do that, yeah.
I think just stop sharing and open it again.
So moving on, like I said, makeup and costumes are given the utmost importance in Yakshagana because it's performed in the night, and this is something that is visually appealing and can capture the attention of people. I have put picture of how a typical green room is. You will never see the concept of course, in Bangalore, in the urbanized and amateur troupes do have makeup artists. But if you go to melas, I'll talk more about melas, you will not find a makeup artist. It's the performer who himself or herself will sit down to do the makeup. So there is a belief that as you are putting on your makeup is when you're getting into your character. There is no other separate platform for you to, there is no concept of rehearsals in Yakshagana, because this is an art form where 6 months, every day, the artist is performing the first 6 months of the year. And how this happens, Yakshagana is a temple art form. So if you have an offering or a hurricane, you will, each of these temples in the coastal Karnataka has a mela. Mela is a team. So when you have a hurricane or an offering that you want to give to the particular god, you will host a Yakshagana performance at your place. And you will invite the artists, and usually the team will have a minimum of 20 to 25 artists who will come in and stage the show from 6 a.m. in the evening till the next day morning, and complete the offering that you have kind of thought of for the god or the deity of your choice. So this particular, the whole night that has to happen, right? So this offering is done by the melas. Now, as in time progressed, a lot of amateur troops came to Bangalore, and Yakshagana, our organization being one of the first ones to come to Bangalore. People like us in Bangalore doing a whole night show doesn't make sense. There are shows that happen. I'll tell you when it happens, and you can go catch a play when things are back to normal. So you will now see short performances where we are doing it for even 10 minutes, sometimes half an hour, 3 to 4 hours, depicting the same story. But the traditional temple art form is performed by the melas. And that's where it's performed only by men. Again, because it's associated with temple, women are not allowed. Were not allowed earlier, maybe because, there was no fixed place for these artists. They were on the move. And if you've gone to coastal Karnataka or the Western Ghats, today there are still connectivity is not good. It's dense forest, and probably it was never safe for women to kind of move from one place to another in the middle of the night, carrying these costumes, this thing, and hence, that whole thing, and it's associated with temple, the menstrual cycles and everything would come in way, and hence women were not allowed to perform. Today, when you see amateur troops like us, we do have women, but not many, but we can see a lot of women coming into this. And hence the performance is called Gandu Kale. Gandu means a man, Kale means art. So a lot of the art form, the costumes, be it the makeup, be it the movements, are very masculine in form. And this could also be another reason why women could not do it. A lot of masculine, and you need to carry, today with advancement of technology and various other materials, the weight of the costume has come down drastically. You can still carry it and perform. Earlier days, it wasn't like that. So one of the reasons why only men were performing. So like I said, this is the chauki mane. Chauki mane, chauka means a square. Chauki mane is usually set up behind the stage that is set up on the field play, and all the costumes and makeup materials are all spread open. Like you see, most of the discussions of the play happen here. So it's very impromptu, and it's very artist dependent, right? So we need to know what artist, like if it's a Krishna, again, I'm coming back to one prasanga so that you can relate to it. If it's a Krishna Arjuna Kalaga, the person playing Krishna today might be playing Arjuna tomorrow. So it's not like they're fixed and they're doing only this. So, so the person who's playing Arjuna should know what all he will say, or where what's the cue, which all padyas he will take, or which storyline. Again, a Krishna Arjuna Kalaga is performed for 10 hours, for 2 hours, for half an hour. So what difference is, what we will pick for depicting for that particular time will differentiate. So this is the time when, they sit all together and they will talk to each other to say that we will do this line, these padyas, and this is how the prasanga will flow. And usually the Bhagavata is also sitting there because, he will kind of conduct the whole thing. So that's the rehearsal. And because there is no other time for rehearsal, they're performing every single day for 6 months. The other 6 months, they're not performing because of the rains in Western Ghats. So the rains, if you see, it's not like the Bangalore rains, right? It's pouring, and you cannot perform open air performances during that time. And that's when they go back to their farming or agriculture. Usually, most of these artists would have two professions. So the second half of the year, they will go back to agriculture or whatever other occupation that they do. So
Was there any particular community that went into this art form?
Not really, because it's not, we don't see that associated with one particular community. Even today, if you walk into a Chaukimani, you'll find artists from a lot of these. Unfortunately, again, a lot of these from very lower castes are not allowed in the temple melas. Today, there are a lot of people arguing and debating about it, because it should still be there or not. But in an amateur troupe or in other melas, you will find all people from all castes that perform here. Whereas the costume making, the percussion making is all with, when you see, it's with a particular caste, like acharyas or somebody who will do, it is with a particular caste, but not the performance bit of it. Okay.
So, Priyanka, one more thing. So, with respect to the colors that is being used for the makeup, again, just like how it was for the, the south and the north of the dress, is it also very particular with respect to makeup?
Yes, it is different. It's very different. Though the colors used are basically white, red, yellow. This is, what you can see in the picture are mostly the colors. Whereas in Tenkutittu, a little bit of green is used for Krishna and Vishnu and the patras that come there. Otherwise, it's a combination of these colors in both, but it's very different, as you see. So what is done is foundation today, in a lot of other art forms, you get ready-made and you apply it. That's not the way. I think the Yakshagana artists were very smart because each person's complexion is very different, and you cannot afford to get so many ready-made foundations or something like that. So each artist knows to prepare his own foundation on that particular day. So it's a mixture of white, which is zinc oxide, which is used in your sunscreens and various other things. Very good for the skin. Nothing will happen. I have seen artists who have performed all their life, probably 50, 60, 70 years, and their skin is very absolutely clear. And they, like I said, they perform whole night. So the makeup is on the entire night and every single day. So they use white, a combination of red and yellow to suit your complexion. So probably I would be mixing it in my own, and they'll mix this with coconut oil, because you will sweat a lot and you cannot afford for the makeup to die off in a couple of hours. So today's ready-made ones probably will withstand the sweat of Yakshagana for not more than 1 hour. If the show is more than 1 hour, we cannot use the ready-made foundation. It's completely coconut oil based makeup, and prominence given to eyes. If I don't know if you can see my face clearly. Yeah. So this is called the Nama, and each character will have a different Nama. So just by looking at the Nama, a lot of them will guess, oh, this is Arjuna, oh, this is Karna, oh, this is Kamsa. So it will differ. And this mudra will also kind of slightly differ for each of these characters. And again, with this mudra, we can kind of correlate to say that Yakshagana originated as a Vaishnava movement, because a lot of Vaishnavites do put mudra. So, and that's how this has come in the makeup. So a lot of prominence to eyes, and again, only 3 colors used: black, white,
Priyanka,
and...
stop sharing for 1 second so that we can see your face.
Okay. Yeah.
Thanks.
So just white, red, and black are the 3 colors that is used. White again is zinc oxide, and red is, we call it lilac, and black is the carbon soot. Most of the time we only prepare it using an oil, yellenne or a till oil, or various gingerly oil, and prepare this, because we need something that's durable and it will withstand the whole night and the sweat that the artist is see. And it's all coconut oil based. For me to take off this makeup, I just have to put coconut oil and remove it with a piece of a cloth. So
Priyanka, just one more thing. So you were mentioning about the padyas. So are these padyas specific to a performance? Are they written and composed for performances, or
Yes.
are there padyas already existing and you just use it for performances?
Yeah, so I'll just come to it in some time after the
sure.
bit of it. Yeah, just a second. So so the makeup again will differ for each of the character. For evil characters, mostly the nama is this. It's horizontal. Again, to give a broader look, and it's more evil. The eyes are even bigger, and to make it. This is usually for a prince or a king character. The nama is like this.
Actually, I just wanted to, this thought just struck me. See, it is so much characteristic of Madhva Brahmins usually have this Gopi Chandana, no? So, as you said, I can relate it so well with, no wonder it is from Karnataka,
Correct. Yeah, and that's why, when people say it began during the Vaishnava movement, it's very relatable because of the makeup, the different aspects of the makeup that is there.
And one more thing.
I guess even this Aparna, sorry, I just wanted to add to what I think Sharda mentioned about Madhva Brahmins, is it? So the other thing which just struck me is Nama is also very prevalent in the Vaishnavas versus the Shaivites, which is horizontal. So that also could be an indication of their lenience towards the Vaishnava tradition, as opposed to a Shaivite tradition. Yeah.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
Carry on, Sharda.
Yeah, I just want to know one thing. See, does this officially come under the Natya Shastras like Mohiniyattam, Kuchipudi, Bharatanatyam, Yakshagana also can be categorized as...
Actually, if you go through the Natya Shastra, one of the living art forms that is very close to every aspect of what is written in Natya Shastra is Yakshagana, like Tarukutu and some of the other art forms in other parts. But from Karnataka, Yakshagana it has most of the aspects that are written in Natya Shastra. Be it the Chauki Mane Puje. I'll talk a little bit about each of these things. But when you go through it, and Dr. Padma Subramaniam, who's done intense work on Natya Shastra, I think if you're from Karnataka and if you go to her, first question that she asks is, have you learned Yakshagana? And a lot of times she says that everybody will say, or pretty much everybody will say no, because she says that is like an exact example of what is written, they're practicing it. So a lot of aspects of Natya Shastra is, you can see these elements in the particular form. Okay, I'm just sharing my screen again. So and you also see that the headgear, every aspect of the art form is done by the artist himself. Because like I said, they're going through the process of getting into the character as they're dressing up. And there's nobody kind of to help you or do your makeup and costumes. So and this process generally takes 2 to 2.5 hours before the performance begins. I saw one question in the chat box asking if every artist will know every character. Yes, pretty much. So if you are a Yakshagana artist, most of the time you will never hear them say, I will not do these characters or this thing. Usually only what happens is Strivesha. Strivesha is the lady part, is also done by men because women are not allowed, right? That is usually given to men who probably can do feminine moves a little better and also look a little more feminine. So that's the only role where, they kind of are fixed or fixated to these feminine roles. Otherwise, all other roles, most of the artists will be able to do each of these.
I have a question,
yeah.
Priyanka.
Yeah.
Sorry. The thing is, how do they do their rehearsals? Because so you said only during makeup, is it they have the rehearsals, or how are they taught from the beginning?
So there was no concept of Gurukula or teacher training separately. So what happens is, like I did the first piece, Kodangi, that is where the learners begin to do. So that's the first part, is they just let go of their fear and they perform to the beats to getting their sense of rhythm is the first aim. And then, like they as they progress, they'll learn, and learning is mostly by seeing their seniors. So seeing is a big part of learning in Yakshagana. So they used to learn Balagopala, Strivesha, and I'll touch upon these things in this particular slide. They learn these different Purvaranga items. And again, Purvaranga is something that's called out in Natya Shastra, and the practice is almost nil in other art forms. Whereas in Yakshagana, some of us are still kind of continuing it. It's the part where before the story begins, there is almost 2 hours or 2.5 hours of knowledge that is there. Like a Bala Gopala is done by two small kids, where they will talk about different types of Dashavatara and then Ganapati Stuti, all of these things. They're learning steps that is required for a role that is performed by a prince or a Raja or something like that. So the body language, everything is picked up in this particular piece. After they finish Balagopala, they will learn Strivesha. Strivesha is the lady, again, just the dance form, where it's about 20-25 minutes of just feminine movements. So when I have to do a Strivesha in my play, I have picked up my steps and the flow and the way body language through this particular piece. And then there is a Raja Vesha Vadolka. When I have to do a very senior Raja kind of a role, what is my body language? You all know how it differs. Each of the character will have its own this thing. So this Purvaranga is like their basics. And they are allowed to perform that from 6 to evening, night around 10:30. They're just doing this Purvaranga, different elements of it. And that's all done by children or young adults who are learning Yakshagana. And then once the story begins is when the seniors who have learned all these things and have graduated slowly will start performing. So that's how the learning used to happen. And today there are institutes like us, and even in Udupi, Mangalore, where they'll take the training for a couple of years and then go to the melas and join. But even after the training, when they go, they will start from this, because that's the practice. Practically doing is very different from what theoretically, right? So that's how it is. And this slide kind of gives you a sense of different characters that come in. I've tried to capture most of them, but there are still many which are not there. You see there's a curtain. Every character enters with a curtain. That's, I think, to like a teaser in a movie, right? Before the movie releases, there's a trailer, teaser, and everything before the actual movie. So just to keep, you will hear the audience talking, who's playing the role of Drona today, who's playing the role of Karna today. And that is to, so the artist will do a lot of movements with the curtain. And again, this is written in Natya Shastra, like you can go through it. So, so using of curtains is still very, very prominent today. There's a Rakasa Vesha, the demon's role. And I've put for Tenkutittu and Badagutittu. The top one is with the red headgear, round headgear is the Badagutittu Rakasa Vesha. And below one is the Tenkutittu. Usually Rakasa Vesha is placed at around 3 p.m. 3 a.m. in the night. That's when most of them will be dozing off. And you want people to kind of get up and, the Rakasa Vesha, the demon's role will come from the audience and really creating, they'll actually go, and the children really get excited. And, then again, they come back to the watching the art form in this thing. So it's very strategically placed, I feel, a lot of these things in the play. The one next to the Rakasa Vesha is the Kirita Vesha. Usually the Raja, the king, usually has this. And then on top, the last on the right hand side is the Hasyagara. Hasyagara is a comedian, this thing. Below, again, there is a Tenkutittu demon role, and then Strivesha, the lady, this thing. Usually sari is what they drape, and there are men who can wear sari. In every exit they will change the sari and come in, so faster than, I think, just 2-3 minutes, and they'll just come. So that's the beauty and of this art form. Today a lot of artists are using these stitched dresses influenced from Bharatanatyam and various other art form that is there, but still traditionally, if you see, sari is what was worn with a small headgear. And then the Hanuman character, Wali, Sugriva, Hanuman, will all be of this particular makeup. And, there is a lot of art involved even in makeup. And each of these, like you can just in this slide, you can see each makeup is very different from each other. Just another thing that I would like to tell you is in the demon character, you see that white teeth right? So that only for demon character you'll find somebody else doing the makeup for them, because it's very laborious. It's almost like the Kathakali makeup, if you have kind of seen some videos where somebody has to apply the akki hittu. Akki is the rice flour and various other thing, so they put that it has to dry and only then do the rest of this thing.
So Priyanka, So I see there is a comedian character also. So Yakshagana stories are not only mythological stories, is it? I mean, what type of stories are generally done?
Even mythological stories, there will be a comedy angle to it.
Okay.
So, like for example, if there is no scope, usually, because that's the humor is the only way you can keep people really alive. The whole night you have to perform, you can't give them serious stuff. So comedy is a very integral part, humor is a very integral part of Yakshagana. And so it's usually like a gatekeeper or the security or Raja's assistants or the Rani's assistants, usually pulling these comic timing and bringing that comedy angle to the Yakshagana. It's very much mythological, and today there are a lot of contemporary art forms that are stories that have come, but mostly it is mythology, epics and Puranas.
So you actually add in humor element, is it? I mean, even if the story happens to be a little serious, like you said, bringing in a Rani's helper or a Raja's helper. So these
Yes.
are additions done by the artists to just bring the humor element.
No, it's there in the story. Like
Okay.
somebody asked me about how the prasangas are written. So there are again, Yakshagana literature has been given very little importance. I feel they contribute a lot to Kannada literature and to keep Kannada alive. So a lot of the artists, the writers, pick up a prasanga and they write padyas. They don't write dialogues. Dialogues are very individual to the artist who is performing. But they will write the padyas. For example, if I have to say, ಏನನು ಸುರಲಿ ಮಾನಿನಿಯ ಚಲು ಆನನದ ಪರಿಗೆ ಮದಗಜಯಾನೆ ಕೋಕಿಲಗಾನೆ ಮದಗಜಯಾನೆ ಕೋಕಿಲಗಾನೆ ಸತಿಯನೂತ ಮೊಗಸಿರಿಗೆ. So this particular padya will be the same in every play that you will go watch, be it Tenkutittu, Badagutittu or any other form. Okay, but I might sing it in a different tala and a different raga is also usually fixed, but Bhagavata can choose to say it in a different tala or this thing. So the padyas are written and documented, and today there is a very good initiative by the government to upload it and making it digital. So a lot of prasangas are close to 200-300 prasangas are written. It's all in very different scattered written format. Now they're making it digital. So the padyas are written, and now based on this, the artist will say, aha, ninna saundaryavannu mechiddene, ninna, I will build on my perspective that I'll bring, keeping the base as this particular padya. That's how most of the prasangas are done. And without the padyas, you don't see people performing. It's all written, and that is that's why Bhagavata becomes the most important person. He knows the padyas, and he can drive the whole story. And there's also, I think, one more question. If one person plays only one character through the night, it depends. Sometimes they might have to play dual characters, being people shortage and this thing. Otherwise, it's mostly one character. Because the small characters, see, if there is a character where there is just a half an hour performance, he might do another role in the morning as well. So because he has the time and energy and everything. But these longer ones, which has to be there for a couple of hours, they tend to do only one particular.
So, one question I had, Priyanka, was since it's such a long performance, you're saying 6 p.m. to 6 a.m., is there a theme in the sense that, the prasanga will be dedicated to one particular epic, or you will have multiple short plays from different epics?
It's just one story. Even in the epic, it will be only Krishna, Arjuna, Kalaga. For example, I've been taking the same thing so that you can relate, or Abhimanyu, Kalaga. It will be just that one story that's performed the entire night.
Oh,
there will be no different stories. Today, you will see 2-3 performances because artists also are not keen on doing it for a long time, and our audience also want multiple things. But if you go to traditionally or the temple ritual art form, there's only one prasanga that's picked up the entire night and they perform. That's what. So the length of the performance will really depend on the artist. I can dance for the padya that I sang, I can dance for 1 minute also, and I can do the same thing for 10 minutes also. So it's really the creativity and the perspective that the individual, and even the dialogue. I can finish the dialogue in one line, and I can also talk about it in 3 to 4 pages. So the length, that's why the artist can control the length of the play.
Right. And the Bhagavatar will keep tabs on how long it is going. When it is the right time for him to come back with the next padya, he comes back.
Yes. So usually there's a cue. Now, if the Bhagavata feels that this character is going beyond what is required, harmonium will start slowly playing. The tala will be like, they'll start, all these are the cues that, if you are an artist, you will get to know. Or if, somebody says time up, you need to wind up soon. Everything, all talas will be in the Twarita Kala. That's the second speed. You will not find slow padyas because, the story has to go. So these are some of the hacks, as and when, So usually what happens is when the play begins, everybody is has the energy and the thing. So they want to do their best and put their best foot forward. So it drags in the beginning. And then as you end, there is a lack of time. There's so many other elements that has to come in, the dialogues are cut short and you're running. So all that happens.
Wonderful and fascinating to see how much goes on behind the scenes.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's very little people who are in this field would know about it, but outside, it looks very rosy and this thing. So here I've tried to capture.
Smita here, one question I had.
Yes, sorry.
Say, for example, you were speaking about the padyas. You enact the padyas. I'm sorry if I'm not using the correct.
Correct.
But is there a particular time in the performance where you only do the abhinaya? The Bhagavata is not doing the padya, is not singing the padya, but only the abhinaya of the face and the hand gestures is not there.
No.
Okay.
Bhagavata is always there.
Right.
We might just do the dance portion, but the Bhagavata is still driving that. Like he will use the bowls, the dastu. Here there is no padya, but there are bowls. He is conducting. That's why he's given the utmost. He's the conductor of the play. Without him, pretty much nothing runs in the play.
Okay.
He's like the Sutradhar.
Got it.
The other question I had, Priyanka, sorry.
Yeah,
you talked about how the artist talks or has the dialogues, right? So they are all impromptu, or there's always a set, or the scene is already rehearsed between the two characters, or how does it happen?
So it's not rehearsed, but what everyone will know is now if it is a scene between Krishna and Narada in a Krishna Arjuna Kalaga, they will know that Krishna will talk about what happened. He was doing his morning ritual and somebody spit on his morning ritual. So he got angered and he kind of said, whoever did this, I'm going to kill him in 8 days or 7 days. So the Narada character knows that he will cover these. And in case the Krishna is missing out on some points, Narada is there to, get that out of Krishna. Or if Narada is some of the points where Narada is, the main role of Narada, why he comes is, he knows where Gaya is. So what happens in Krishna Arjuna Kalaga is Krishna will be performing his morning ritual, and Gaya, he will spit on him by mistake. And Krishna will get very angry, and he will say that I'm going to kill him in 10 days. So 7 days. So, and they'll keep looking for Gaya, and they will not find him. And that's when Narada knows where he is. On the last but one day, he'll come to Krishna and he will be poking as usual. The way Narada does is, hey, what happened? Your face doesn't look like your usual cheerful one. And, things like these. So we know that within the play that these elements will be covered. But what I will say exactly is the other artists will not know. They will. It's a conversation that's happening at that particular time. Okay.
Priyanka, for the want of time, I think we can keep asking questions.
Yeah, that's it.
Once you finish the presentation, we'll keep the rest of the questions.
Sure. Yeah. So just jumping into this is, I've just tried to show that different aspects, everything is made out of wood, the costumes. I have kind of kept a few here. The headgear, Kirita, and that's Kedge Mundale. Today, this particular thing today is made of thermocol, but otherwise it's made of pullu, hay wire, which is stacked one on the other. And depending on my face, I will adjust the length by stacking it on one another. And depending on the character, and the color of this will also change depending on the character. It's black is for Prince, green is for Krishna, Vishnu, red is for all the evil characters like Shalya, Shakuni. So they'll all be wearing red. And then this is, all these are made of wood. And then there is a foil that is applied on top of it. And this work needs to happen every single year. Like it gets worn off. So you remove the whole thing and then apply.
Priyanka, I think you need to stop sharing your screen. Probably you're showing something on the other side you're not able to see.
Sorry. I'll just show them. So this is the headgear, today made of thermocol, but traditionally worn in very different way. Just to tie this headgear, it requires half an hour to 45 minutes. And all these are made of wood, and this is cloth, which is stitched, and the foil is applied year on year. So this is usually the headgear for any king and evil character, everything. This kind of, like a Bhima, Kaurava, all these roles will have this. So in the slide, what I was showing you was the different props that is used in Yakshagana. Very minimal, like modern theater was used long back. You'll hardly find properties that are used. There's one ratha that is here, the person standing on this, that's usually there, which turns into a throne, which turns into a chariot, which turns into everything on the stage. So there's one chariot that is there, and there's one billu. Billu is the bow and an arrow that most of the characters will carry. Here down, it's a Krishna. If you see, the face is green in color. So that's the Krishna role, and he's holding a chakra. And Gada Yuddha, Bhima, Duryodhana, they'll all use a gade in the play. So these are some of the props that are used in Yakshagana. So coming to, these are some of the, like I already talked about Mela, Harike is an offering. So there's a tent Mela. Tent is where, you put up a proper closed enclosure. Again, put up for every performance. There's a tent Mela, and there's a Harike Mela, where the temple offering Mela that is there. And, you see stages are set up next to each other. Same performance, same prasanga is performed by 3, 4, 5 Melas together. And it's a competition. Who will wear the bigger headgear and dance for longer time. So it's a treat to watch this. It happens in coastal Karnataka. It's called Jodata. Jodata means dual play, two plays happening. So today you can see 3-4 of them happening at the same time. A lot of music and this thing happening, but it's fun to watch. Do not miss it if you're in coastal Karnataka. Usually, if you're going in the first half of the year, you will be able to catch some of these performances. The below one is called Talamadle. This happens in the second half of the year where there is monsoon, where you cannot perform outside. It happens inside the house usually. And there's no dancing here. There's only music and dialogues. The Bhagavata will sing, and then each character will just talk about there are only dialogues. The story will be through just dialogues here. So that's called Talamadle. And thanks to Corona, just the number of shows of Talamadle increased drastically, because what happens in an online performance is there's a lot of lag, and the joy of performance is not there, the dancing bit. So a lot of our shows became Talamadle during this online thing. On top right is called Chikkamela, where only 2 or 3 artists go to each house during festival like Navaratri or something. Very similar to Yakshagana, but they'll not be performing that long. That's why Chikka means small, Chikkamela. So they'll go, and usually the family will offer them food. Earlier they used to give rice and various other things. Today it's in form of money. The down below is Huvina Kolo, done by children. During Navaratri again, they go to houses, and usually again, it's in the format of Talamadle, but they kind of sing and do a small performances with just dialogue and no dancing. So these are sister art forms of Yakshagana. Yeah, so this is just the flow of what happens. The show actually begins in the green room, the Chauki Puja. Chauki is this thing. So usually this is considered as Ganapati, the Kirita. So we keep this in front of this. We keep rice and flowers, and the Bhagavata will sing Bhagavata along with the percussion artists, and all the artists will first do a puja, which is like a proper singing with all the percussion for the play to go on very well. So that happens, and then they go on stage. The only Himmela, that is the Bhagavata, Chande, Madle, they go on stage and they kind of play the music and start gathering people. After that is the Purvaranga, which I touched upon a little bit, where, it's the dancing part. The youngsters in the Mela will start performing. Today, that part is only missing. That's the sad part. There are very few people who know the Purvaranga aspects because of lack of time and lack of audience. Today, there are only 1 or 2 people who are watching. The family who is hosting the play will sit and watch the entire night. Otherwise, you'll not find the audience. For an artist, that is not really exciting, right? So they've cut down on this Purvaranga. They directly jump into Prasanga. That's the play. So then the story happens, and then there is a Mangala. Mangala is generally, again, offering God to the God, thanking the Lord for the success of the show on stage. And then you go back to Chauki Mane, the green room, and again do a Mangala there. And that's really the end. So it starts from the green room and ends in the green room. Yeah, so that's pretty much what I had. If there is time, I would love to teach some of the bowls and the talas. There are 7 talas. We can do 1 tala together if there is time.
There is. Please go ahead. You have 20 minutes, so we can do 1 exercise or 1 performance that you can share, and then we'll keep it questions maybe in the last few minutes.
Okay. So I will probably... I'll show you how a dialogue is rendered. That's just a second. So again, because I've been calling out on Krishna Arjuna, I will talk a scene where Krishna has just entered, and he's talking to the audience about what is bothering him. ದೇವಕಿಯ ಮಗನನ್ನು ದೇವರ ದೇವ ಎಂದು ಕರೆದವರು ಭಾವುಕರು. ಜಗತ್ತಿಗೆ ಯಾರೇ ಬಂದರೂ ಜೀವನಗಾಗಿಯೇ ಬರಬೇಕು. ಈ ಜಗತ್ತಿನ ರಾತ್ರಿ ಹಗಲುಗಳಿಗೆ ಹೊಂದಿಕೊಳ್ಳಬೇಕು. ನಿತ್ಯ ಕರ್ಮದ ಹೊರೆ ಹೊರಲೇಬೇಕು. ಭುವಿಯ ಬದುಕಿನ ಬೆಳಕಿಗಾಗಿ ಭಾಸ್ಕರನನ್ನು ಬೇಡಬೇಕು. ಇರುಳಿನ ತಂಪಿಗಾಗಿ ಚಂದ್ರನನ್ನು ಹಾಡಬೇಕು. ಬದುಕಿಗೆ ಬಯಸಬೇಕು, ಸಾವಿಗೆ ಹೆದರಬೇಕು. ನಾವೇ ಆರಂಭಿಸಿದ ಆಟವನ್ನು ಮುಗಿಸುವುದಕ್ಕೆ ಬೇರೆಯವರನ್ನು ಕಾಯಬೇಕು. ಈಗ ಬಂದ ಗಯನ ಪ್ರಕರಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಈ ದೇವರನ್ನು ಭಕ್ತರೇ ಕಾಯಬೇಕು. ಆ ಗಯ ನನ್ನನ್ನು ವಂಚಿಸಿ ಎಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಿರಬಹುದು ಎಂಬುವ ಚಿಂತೆ ನನಗೂ ಇದೆ. ಅವನು ಮತ್ತೆಲ್ಲಿಯಾದರೂ ಹೋದರೆ ಎಂಬ ಚಿಂತೆ ಕೂಡ ನನಗಿದೆ. ನಮ್ಮೆಲ್ಲರ ಚಿಂತೆಯನ್ನು ಬಗೆಹರಿಸುವವರು ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ? ಭಕ್ತರ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ದೇವರಿದ್ದಾರೆ. ದೇವರ ಕಷ್ಟಕ್ಕೆ ಯಾರಿದ್ದಾರೆ? So usually if you see the dialogues, there is a Shruti box, and usually the dialogue is said at a particular Shruti, and the Shruti again changes through the night depending on the weather and the play. It will start at one particular pitch, and as you go, the pitch kind of increases. So this is the time when the Narada enters. So then Bhagavata will say, Taraka mantradinda bhaktiyali Rama Ramanipa-chanda Narada Munipaniga ತ್ವರಿತದಲ್ಲಿ ದ್ವಾರಕೆಗೆ ಬಂದು ಬೇಗ. ಧೀಂ ಧೀಂ ತೋಂ ತಾಂ ತಾಗಡ್ತ ಧಿನ್ನ ಧೀಗಡ್ತ ಧಿನ್ನ ತೈತ ದಿನ್ನ ಧೇಂ. ಕೃಷ್ಣ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಲೈಕ್, ಓಹೋ ನಾರದರು ಬರಬೇಕು. ಬಂದ ನಾರದರ ಕಂಡು ಮುರಮಾತನು ಚಂದದಿಂದಿರಿಸಿ. So basically, Krishna is found that happiness that he saw Narada in this particular situation, and he's offering him, he's just being a very nice host and welcoming him. So the play goes on. So there is always a padya and then a dialogue which is explaining the particular padya. So today, if would you want to hear more dialogues? I thought I saw some of them. Or we'll do some tala.
So,
whatever.
Priyanka, I think for the benefit of all,
Yeah.
what you said, you can explain that padya, so that especially now that you've done an obeisance to Surya, and you talked about how for man there is God to solve his worries, for God's worry. So you can just explain what that is and what is correct. Yeah, so that will help.
Yeah. So the dialogue that I said was Krishna, like I said, he's very worried. So he's saying that everyday duty is what we have to do once we've come on earth as we've taken the form of human being. There are particular things that we have to do. So sometimes, when we have started the story, we need to wait for somebody else to come and end it. So today he's saying that God is always there to help the bhaktas. But when there is a situation where God himself is in a fix, who is there to help? And that's when Narada comes in, and he's found some light saying that, he knows that Narada always knows what is happening and what are things happening. So he knows that he can extract some information, and he's happy. So when I sang that Vanda Naradarannu Kandu, so I saw, he saw Narada, and he's Muramatha is Krishna. Chandadin irisikondu, he's welcoming him in a very very honorable way, and he's welcoming Narada inside his Dwarka. So that's what I kind of said right now for the ones.
Just to add to it, I just felt like it. I'm unable to stop myself. Bahala channagittu Priyanka.
Thank you. I think some of these elements you can use in your storytelling. Some of you are storytellers where, talking in a bit of tones. And when I work with children, they enjoy it when, they have to, like, for example, a demon character. Whoa! ho, ho, ho. And it's up to each one how long they can hold the breath and say it. So if there's a demon character, so these things children enjoy. And when you have to say the dialogue with the Shruti, you can use a Shruti Tampura. A lot of these are available online on YouTube by just like how somebody just sang in the same format. So
Can we do some bowl?
yeah. So I'll take you to the first tala, which is the ekatala. If some of you have learned other forms of dance, that you would know that there is ekatala in other forms as well. It's made of 4 akshara. Tadheem, dim, mitta, theem. I'll just type the bowls here. Okay, so in the way Yakshagana, tadheem, dim, mitta, theem. This is how you will put the tala. It's very similar to how you would hold a cymbal and use it. We are just using the hand here. Tadheem, dim, mitta, theem. You take your hand up and down. Okay. So I'll show it to you once and then you can join along with me. Tadheem, dhim, mitta, theem. Tadheem, dhim, mitta, theem. Tadheem, dim, 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 mitta, theem. So it's 4 aksharas, the dheem, dim, mitta, dheem. So very simple. We'll do that once. And then after this, I'll show you how to put the muktaya. Muktaya is the ending. Each tala will have an ending. So tad dheem, dhim, mitta, dheem. 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 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just 2. So that some of you, if you're confused. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So this particular, each tala has a hand movement like this tala, the way you put. Each student will be taken through each of these talas, and it's a everyday practice. Once you come to class, you will recite all of these bowls and then learn the steps for these, and then you add padyas, that's lyrics, and each prasanga will have different types of ekatala. Will have prince character will have a very fast beat ekatala, whereas a king will have very slow and just very moderate movement. This thing, a Strivesha would have a very different form, which I will probably show you each. I'll show you ekatala, how it is done for each of these characters. The muktaya for these, the ending. I'll just type the bowl here. You can sing along with me. Ditta to dhinna takad ditta tayatta dhinna dhim. So when this comes, I know that the padya is coming to an end. That's the muktaya of the tala. So we'll just say the muktaya once. Ditta to dhinna takad ditta tayatta dhinna dhim. Ditta to dhinna takad ditta tayatta dhinna dhim. So now if I have to say the dastu of the bowls of the tala followed by the muktaya, it would be like tadheem dhim mitta dheem, tadheem dim mitta dheem, tadheem dim mitta dheem, tadheem dhim mitta dheem, ditta to dhinna tagad ditta tayatta dhinna dheem. So I'll just show you how this one particular step is done for different characters. Sorry. Okay. My legs. So this is the normal step. Tadhim, dhimmitta, dhim, tadhim, dhimmitta, dhim, tadhim, dhimmitta, dhim, tadhim, dhimmitta, dhim. If it's a Strivesha, tadhim, dhimmitta, dhim, tadhim, dhimmitta, dhim, tadhim, dhimmitta, dhim. So my movement is more feminine. If it's a Strivesha or a Krishna, okay? And if it's a Rakshasavesha, tadhim, dim, demon roll. Tadhim, dimmitta, dim, tadhim, dimmitta, dim, tadhim, dimmitta, dim, tadhim, dimmitta, dim. So if it's a Rakshasavesha, if it's a Rajavesha, it will be tadhim, dimmitta, dim, tadhim, dimmitta, dim, tadhim, dimmitta, dim, tadhim, dimmitta, dim. If it's a hasya, a comedian role, then it will be tadhi, dimmitta, dim, tadhi, dimmitta, dim, tadhi, dimmitta, dim. So, each character, there is a different way of doing the same step. Any other questions or something that you would want to hear? Unfortunately, dancing, you will not be able to enjoy the whole thing, so I couldn't dance too much today.
So the dance is one side. The dancer they are coming. Again, is it improvised like all the other aspects, or that is also just the tala and they follow this thing? Is it
correct? So the tala will be set. So what the Bhagavata will tell the artist is, I'm going to sing this particular padya in Jampe tala. That's all the artist will know. But in Jampe tala, like I showed you, just 4 different forms of step. There are several. It's called something called Chalu Kunita, where after the Abhinaya, there's a prominence for you to dance for that particular thing. It's like a jati if you know a dance. So if you know your Bharatanatyam, Kuchipudi and all, they have jatis, right? Something like that is called Chalu Kunita in Yakshagana. Whereas here, it's not fixed. I might do a different Chalu. Somebody else doing my role, the same role will do a different Chalu. So that's why, it's very important for the percussionist and the co-artist to be present there, because you don't know what is happening. The percussionist will follow the artist as in when they're doing, or the artist will depend on the Bhagavata to take the flow. But there will be an understanding as to who's taking the lead and showing what they want to do. So there is that's the mutual understanding that the artist will have on stage.
Please do post your questions, or just raise your hand and then unmute and ask your question, because 2 people talking might have a traffic jam. Just do the normal putting a hand up, and then not that hand up, real reaction hand up.
I think Sri Lekha has a question.
Yeah, thank you. It's so beautiful, everything that you've been doing from the beginning. And I just wanted to ask you, in Tamil Nadu, we have something called Terukuthu. So is it all same interwoven, or there's some drastic difference? Because when you started the invocation, that is where it took me, it's the same kind of percussion and sounds that reverberated when I heard it, when you started it. It was so beautiful. It took me back to my younger days, that was the only form of more than entertainment. I grew up in a hostel, so that is the only time when I got to hear mythological stories. Otherwise, it was all the Bible stories for me. So
yeah,
it took me back there. So you tell some connection between it is all the same.
Yeah. So I feel these are all emerged in one, and as people kind of migrated to different parts, they took different names and shapes according to the land and this thing. So I was just talking to a Terukuthu family of artists, and it is so similar. There are every aspect, like the using of curtains, the way the thing is presented. it's very similar. It's just that as the art form evolved, they have adapted to what the local needs and local culture is there. And Yakshagana has picked up whatever is local to Karnataka and that coastal part of Karnataka. It's very similar. The structure of it and the way it's presented, it's very similar.
I have a question to ask. So is Yakshagana, is it family bound? Is it a group of family artists, or how is it?
It's not really. You will find artists from, definitely there'll be people from the family who kind of take it forward, but it's not restricted to only this particular family has to do it. A lot of, I think, also these art form went because of there's an interest and there's no other choice of livelihood. This is one of very, if you go to coastal Karnataka, it's a very integral part of everybody's day-to-day life. You will not find a single person from coastal Karnataka who's not witnessed a play. So it's just that integral. Unfortunately, probably when we migrate to urban or different parts, that culture is not there. Today, I don't know how many of us make, I think this group is still more art oriented and would still, but generally, they wouldn't make time to go watch a play or a performance live. And just COVID has just made it very even more difficult, right? So yeah, so that's the
okay. And one thing I would like to mention is when you started off with Abra and Kodangi, I was reminded because I understood properly as to what these words were, because even when we are in colloquial Kannada, when we are talking, "Yen Kodangi tara aartiya," then it hit me that this is what it is actually.
correct, yes.
Thank you.
So there's one question, Deepa. She has asked, what age do children traditionally are allowed to start?
It's usually around 5 to 6 years. That's when the strength, the leg strength is very important once they come. So recommend today, unfortunately, a lot of parents want them. I get calls by saying 2-year-old, 3-year-old, they want them to put. We don't recommend. There are people who would probably teach them, but we don't recommend. 6 years is ideal, 5 to 6 years.
I have two questions.
Yeah.
I mean, the first one is, when you were dancing, I observed that you wore your sari in the traditional Karnataka style, right? I mean, the women authentically, who wear it. So that's the all over Karnataka. Is it the same?
No, this is the way I've worn this is just for today's presentation. I just wanted it to be a little different. But there is something called kase sire, which is very typical to Yakshagana. This is a sari where we tie this dhoti. Today, there are some stores that are selling saris of the same material. There are very few people who are still weaving this. It's called kase sire. So this is worn as a dhoti using a lot of ropes. So that is the traditional way of wearing it in Yakshagana. Only after we've worn this dhoti is when all these ornaments will come on top of that. A dhoti and this dagale, we call it. It's a shirt kind. And on top of this, it will come. So that's the traditional sari that's worn.
Okay.
And draping of that is also very different. And today, a lot of them use ready-made stitched kache of this, but traditionally tying is very different.
Okay. And the second one is, I observed that you used the names of talams, Eka talam, Jampa talam. So I want to know if the Bhagavata has to be trained in classical music for this.
It's good to have classical music knowledge because that, helps the movement of tala. That's again, I think one of the folk forms of Yakshagana that's remaining is we are taught talas like this, and it's very crude. We don't know why, what, and how it's written because it's orally passed on. A lot of information kind of gets lost.
Okay.
But when you are trained in classical, you sometimes can, get the raga and, the raga here is learned just by listening. They'll sing a padya, they'll say this is Madhyamavati raga. And that's how. There is no Arohana, Avarohana, that structured format of learning the raga is not there in Yakshagana. So it's good if the Bhagavata does have the knowledge, but it's very rare that, Bhagavatas have the resources. What is happening today is if there is a little money and resource, they will go to classical music. Nobody will stick on to Yakshagana because this is not lucrative or they will not pay you, right? So as much. So if you have a great voice, you will just move to this thing. People who don't have the resources and access to this kind of remain in Yakshagana. That's the unfortunate situation today.
Okay. So with that, just want to say that Priyanka, as you know, is training children. Any of you have children are in Bangalore, then she is the person to contact. And I think it is a beautiful foundation and exposure for children above 6 years of age into this art form. So please contact Priyanka.
A round of applause for Priyanka.
Yeah. Yes. And a round of big applause. Unmute yourself, and if we were in person, we will all be clapping and cheering, giving her a standing ovation.
Thank you so much.
First of all, the gratitude is that you're perpetuating, you're not allowed this art form to go away. And our anglicized world is knowing this through you, Priyanka. So really, we humbly bow down to what you're doing, the service that you're doing to this art form. Thank you for keeping it alive, and thank you for sharing this with us. I know this is just like not even a drop in the ocean that you have shared. It is such a vast area, and we can see the love that you have for this art form. That is what I can connect. This is what makes us feel very proud of what you shared with us, and the kind of what is available for us to explore in terms of art and culture. Is there one last thing that you would like to tell us, Priyanka?
I think one is thank you so much. It's very rare that people want to sit down and listen to the history and what goes behind the art form. Most of the time, I hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Okay. Most of the time, it's just that people want to see the performance.
You, ma'am.
People just want to see the performance and, just be done with it. They don't want to understand from where it originated. I was really happy to know that, so many of you are interested, and thank you for the entire team for putting this up. Not many people come forward to put up something like this, and it's much needed, I feel. This is one particular art form where you can learn every aspect of it, be it, the singing, music, dance, storytelling, art. So everything is there. So it's a holistic art form. We are doing our best to kind of keep it alive, and definitely COVID situation is not.
Sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. I think there's one child here who wants to say something to you. So we'll just allow that, and then we'll have to close this session.
Sure.
Jai Hasini, please show us yourself. Come on video and please ask your question. What is it you want to say?
Carnatic song and Bharatanatyam.
Yes, you can contact Priyanka ma'am to learn Yakshagana.
Ma'am, which state are you, ma'am?
I'm from Karnataka.
Okay. Did you enjoy Jai Hasini?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Wonderful.
Okay. I just had one other thing that we've come up with a story book. A lot of you are storytellers. If you can use this book to kind of, this talks about in a story format. Vikram has taken a look of this book. In a story format, we've spoken about the art form. This is one of our efforts to kind of reach the different children, to take them through the art form, what it is, what are the different kinds. If you can use it in your storytelling, it'll be great. I can share the link where you can find the book as well.
Yes, please put it on the chat, and then that would be wonderful. we once again thank you from Bangalore Storytelling Society. A very, very heartfelt thanks to you, Priyanka, and for coming and sharing and giving your valuable, all that you have, that rich treasure that you have, you shared with us. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. I will send the link later. I think there's some internet issues. I will.